gentlemen,
I've done it.
you don't need to watch
We've done
Volume 9. I got it right here, okay? And so while we were looking at the new teaser screenshots that just came out, I had a crazy idea, and I feel like I
Halfway
just
through the
gotta
video,
put it out there.
Zeus, or no, who's it? Is it Othello?
The fates just...
Othello struck you.
Apollo?
Apollo struck you. Othello is a guy from a Shakespeare
Yeah, I know.
play.
I was like, what are you
Apollo
talking-
gifted you from Mount Olympus with a thunderbolt, the gift of prophecy.
Exactly, okay?
And you were given the prophecy.
I thought of
of
this,
this.
and this is so genius that I don't know how anything I say can compare if this is correct. We know that in the original RWBY teaser, there's a girl, right, that is coming off the island, and there are also multiple sets of footprints. So we're thinking that maybe it's Alice and then Alyx's sister, or Alice and another character, like 2 characters have gone down there. And then, for some reason, like it just all dawned on me, because for a while, a lot of people thought the girl that was coming off the beach was actually one of Ozpin's daughters somehow. But when you actually look at the color scheme, the dress, the skin tone, it doesn't really match up. However, for some reason, it sparked in my brain, and I cannot wait to share this with you guys, okay? When you look at where we are, it's all a mishmash of things that could not really feasibly occur, right? Like, you have, like, candy forest, and then you have, like, you know, all these glowing mushrooms. Like, it's really the hills with the giant cherries, right?
It's whimsical and magical and childlike.
Exactly, and childlike. And so, a thought occurred to me out of, again, the prophecy, the void, whatever you want to call it. A thought sparked in my brain. Hear me out. Ozpin's daughters did not die. He sent them away to this other place. And we've talked about how this might be possible, like, oh, maybe they're in the fairy tale book. That Ozpin had the power to send his daughters away somewhere using his magic, not even like a somewhere, but more like a pocket dimension type
because we
situation,
never see them
right?
die. All we see
don't.
is them, Salem and Ozpin fight.
Yeah.
They destroy the building they're at, and it is assumed that your children
It's
die.
assumed that they're dead.
And they
However,
probably
and they
are.
may be dead, but it's very interesting to think about that maybe this could be possible. So here's what I'm thinking, okay? Ozpin created this pocket dimension. When the fight with Salem got ugly, he sent the kids through the pocket dimension, but then he died. And that's where shit kind of got complicated for Ozpin, because you may be wondering, why not just bring them back? But something goes a little awry with Ozpin after that point. And I think too, the other thing is that he sent them away so Salem would not find them and be able to use them for her schemes. That's sort of the idea I have right now.
We do assume he can make them, or the relics, sorry, are held, are not in Remnant.
Exactly.
They're probably in this place.
Or
So
other pocket dimensions,
Other pocket
right?
dimensions.
So the pocket dimension idea, like the relics were not there and then the schools were built around them. It sort of implied that Ozpin found all the relics and made those little voids for them to go into. A lot of people think, including us, right, we came up with this, I think, is that the relics are actually in this pocket dimension, right? And so...
this Wonderland.
But let's say that the relics aren't in Wonderland. The relics vaults still prove that Ozpin has the capability to do this. So how I imagine this going is that he sends the kids through the pocket dimension, and they're on an island that is barren, a pretty normal island. A good climate, like somewhere that's warm, that they're not gonna die of frostbite or something like that. Like, he sends them somewhere with the intention that they will survive and they will live, but he cannot go with them because obviously, like, there are like reasons for that in terms of the story. And so he thinks that they will be safe in this place. They have each other, they have magic. And so what we are seeing...
A place where Salem can't get them.
Exactly, a place where Salem cannot reach them. So what we're seeing is actually not like naturally occurring flora and fauna or whatever, but it's the creations of the girls, because all of Ozpin's kids, as far as we know, they all have magic. So this kind of explains why there's giant, like, you know, candy gumdrops just chilling over here, because when you're a kid, that's the type of stuff that you would create. And there's almost 4 perfect quadrants. So the way I imagine this is that they all get on the island and they all start creating, right? They start creating for themselves so they can live, but they're also kids, right? So they're having some fun, and they make the giant tree in the middle because the tree is supposed to represent all of them. Like, they are unified by the tree. Over time, though, maybe some sus things happen, because it is possible that there were already people on the island, right? And that they sort of came in and were like, we'll teach you how to do civilization, right? That's something that kind of sparked sparked my idea as well, is that maybe there were creatures already living here, like the cat and the caterpillar. I don't think that the cat and the caterpillar are the girls. Maybe there are things that the girls created with magic, kind of similar-ish to the hound situation,
or maybe that
right?
the magic they introduced to the ecosystem
started to fuck around, right, with
things.
some things, exactly, right? And so I don't think that they are the creatures, but I do think that basically probably what happened is that one of those kids has the Salem gene, which means that they want to control everything. And that character is like the Queen of Hearts, or like the chainmail person. And the most likely, not likely, they could be any of them, but the candidate that speaks to me the most on that, being like the one with all the chains, is the girl that has the chains around her like head and her waist. In the Lost Fable, when we see them, like she's supposed to represent winter, right? Like in a sense, they're all supposed to represent the maidens, but then also like she's reading a book, so like she's the most
and
like
she's
kind of
the one
academic.
That has the magic
exactly,
the
and she's the one who
so
has
it makes
the magic
sense she
first.
might be the most cunning, most powerful, most like her mommy.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that, right? Because I'm not sure, like, in terms of the actual story of, like, Alice in Wonderland, I'm not sure if, like, the Red Queen is younger, but the White Queen is, like, older or anything. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, there's not really... Some of the stories have it so the Red Queen is the younger one, like, just inventing details, right? But... I think that would be really interesting, is that one of the girls is the Queen of Hearts. And maybe it's even that, like, they didn't realize it, but their own magic started to affect them, because something that Ozpin says in the RWBY fairy tale novels is like, oh, it's a good thing magic like this doesn't exist. That would be chaotic and crazy and probably catastrophic, right? And he's like, you know, and so the reason, like, we
Lucky no one's magic, right?
Yeah,
no one's
like,
magic.
we
No one
see
has
that,
magic here,
and
right?
we think, oh, he's referring to him in Salem. But what if that's actually not supposed to be a backward reference, but a forward reference to the fact, like, the kids,
Maybe
they're just here running wild, like, you know.
And he was afraid of his children.
Yeah.
He left him alone. Maybe time works differently. So for what was maybe a week for him was actually years
like,
for
maybe
them.
he did try to come back and he was like, that's not good, right? Because a lot of people think, including us, right, is that John is actually the night soldier. So it's possible that over time, all of the kids kind of maybe turned into something, not that they didn't become human, like, or that they became unhuman, but like that they kind of turned into, again, the Queen of Hearts has human elements, but is clearly something else is going on with her. You have that character who is blonde, and like Hunter said, maybe a frog with like, you know, one of those French wigs or something, right?
Never know.
But, like, the blonde hair and the crown and the red, like, she's holding her sister's hand, right? So what if, like, instead of a king, the Queen of Hearts and then the other sister that's holding her hand in the photo is supposed to be kind of the King of Hearts, right? They just sort of rule side by side, but it's implied that the Queen of Hearts has more power than the king, even in like the actual Alice in Wonderland story. Then you have the other two. Summer one is giving like very like Mad Hatter energy, and then also in the fairy tale book,
well, she was chasing around.
Yeah, like they were chasing around, and like when the story of seasons is described in the fairy tale book, like the Remnant book, it's like Summer is like giggling and like kind of laughing at Ozpin, right? Like, I don't know, like that could have been foreshadowing to kind of the Mad as a Hatter vibes, like seeing things that nobody else sort of sees, seeing the humor, I guess, that no one else sees, right? And then the other one, I think that the green one is supposed to be spring. That's the only one where I haven't exactly nailed down.
She seems kind of meek, whereas the other one, because Winter's reading, Fall and Summer are running around, but she walks up and like shows
she
her
wants to
toys
impress Salem. So it could be possible that it's actually the youngest sister that goes off the deep end because she wanted to impress Salem like the most, right? And so you could really reorganize this in any particular order that you feel like, but the basis of the theory is that all of the four girls are actually the rulers of Wonderland in some capacity, and maybe they rule their own quadrants or whatever the case, right? And that so, where does Alice come into this? I don't think that Alice is one of the girls. I think that a period of time passed, and Ozpin was like, can you go get my daughters and bring them back here? I think that he told someone, probably Alice, right? And maybe if there were other people, right? Whoever he trusted at that time. The girl who fell through the world, he sent her there to bring his daughters back. But for some reason, it could not. She gets stuck, or she can't, or whatever. And like that's why I also think like we have a theory that Alice is the Summer Maiden. So Ozpin sends the Summer Maiden in there because the Summer Maidens also have at least a drop of power compared or similar to Ozpin and tells her, hey, go get my daughters, bring them back here. You can open a portal because if I can do it, so can you, right? They all share the same magic, right? And so theoretically, I would imagine that there wouldn't be rules of, oh, Ozpin can do this, but the maidens can't, because the magic is all Ozpin's magic, right? So it wouldn't make sense. So basically, it's finally time. I think it's been long enough, and we need them. We need them in the fight against Salem. They're probably old enough now not to be manipulated, right, by Salem. Like, this is Ozpin's thought process. They're probably adults now. They're old enough not to be manipulated, and we need their magic in the fight. Like, we need them. Alyx goes in. She's just like, oh. She wants to fix them before bringing them back. Say she goes to collect the Queen of Hearts and the Queen of Hearts just mops the floor with her, right? Like, she goes back to her den, her little area that we think that's her area, the one with the globe, and she's like, okay, I need a game plan. I need to figure out how to turn all these people back to be people, like, back into people, you know? And so I think that maybe that actually ties in very nicely with the plot of the volume, which it seems like we don't know, okay, but a lot of people think that the knight is Jean. If the island's magic somehow turned Jean into the knight, finding the solution to bring Jean back to his normal form will also be the solution to bring back all of the daughters.
Okay, that makes a certain amount of sense.
And so that's sort of my thought process here, is that Alyx is here. She's like, first of all, we can't leave because we need all the daughters' powers to unite together to open the portal to get us to leave. Maybe she knows that. That's the only way they can all get home. So first of all, she is kind of stuck there.
Because that was my problem here, is that, like, why wouldn't Ozpin just do it himself?
So in terms of, like, why Ozpin would send someone else to do it in terms of going himself, I would say that, like, Ozpin, this isn't so out of character for Ozpin. And then the other thing as well with Ozpin is, like, he's too important to go somewhere where there may not be any chance of coming back. And so he may have known that sending Alyx in, that there was a real possibility that they would not be able to get back home.
That's true, because he's okay in sacrificing children for the cause. So
I mean, yeah, and it's not even that he wanted to, but, like, he was like, look,
he felt the need
we need you to go get my kids, but, like, I'm gonna be honest, you may not be able to
Does he say kids, or does he bury the lead?
Maybe he buries the lead, right? But basically my point is it's like, he tells whatever, one of his people in his circle, or the Summer Maiden, or whoever you want to, Alyx, he tells Alyx, like, listen, I need you to go in there and he has to say that it's the kids that he wants, or else how would you know what to bring back, right? So I think I need you to go get my kids in the magical realm. But, like, listen, there may be a possibility that you may not return. Are you okay with that? And this person would be like, yeah, well, fuck, I guess so. Do I have a choice? I understand your question, Hunter, but also, like, that would not be the most unbelievable thing.
That's a good explanation, because, like, yeah, Ozpin would do that.
It depends on whether or not this goes into the category of what is Ozpin hiding. But if Ozpin told another person, technically he wouldn't have been hiding it, because, like, that question's not specific. Like, what is Ozpin hiding from who? Right? You know, not from Team RWBY, just from everyone. Like, he hasn't told this to Crow, he hasn't told this to the headmasters, but the way that the girls...
But he's also held those lies before, like everything that happened in the
way that the girls being on the island would get around the loophole is the fact that he did actually tell someone. Right? Because then Ozpin wasn't hiding it, he did tell Alyx, so technically that's why it is not in the Lost Fable explanation, and that would solve that problem.
I guess one thing I will say about that is that it does kind of make the whole going to Wonderland thing less special.
Yeah.
Whereas RWBY and Jean and Neo are, like, the second only group of people from Remnant to ever get there after Alyx.
Yeah.
But if Alyx isn't even the first one, if these 4 other kids, that means there's, like, if Alyx has another person, the other set of footprints on the beach, that's 6.
Right.
Plus the 6, that's 12 people from Remnant. Like, that's a lot of people coming from Remnant.
Yeah, that's true, Hunter, but I think it's different because, like, these are the originators. They made Wonderland.
Yeah.
They're not, they didn't just fall in accidentally.
They
made Wonderland. So I think it's different. And the other thing is, like, I don't want to say there's no logical explanation because obviously there's magic
this isn't
and
logic,
shit. Right? There's no logic, but at the same time, it doesn't, in terms of the rules of the show, so, as we know them, Wonderland fundamentally does not make any sense, right?
Yeah.
And does it need to? That's
No, it
another
doesn't. I
conversation
guess
we can
not.
have. It doesn't, right?
But you want the plot to not be too
Possibly,
out there and
right?
have too many moving parts.
Exactly. Like, Wonderland being in the fairy tale book, acceptable. Wonderland being in the afterlife, acceptable. Wonderland being this other, like, kind of realm like the relics and being
Yes.
a pocket dimension, acceptable. But Wonderland just kind of existing, I don't know if I'd be okay with that. With this idea that it's just existing, like, without cause, right? And so this is what makes the most sense to me, is that the girls basically came here and they decorated it, right? They made it to their taste and their childlike fantasy and all of the fairy tales that they read.
Regardless of what the truth ends up being, I don't doubt that we will get some kind of explanation of the history of the
And
place.
so I actually think out of most of the things that we've said, this
guess that
makes
does
the
make
most
sense. This is how religions get started. I hope you realize.
What do you mean?
What do you mean the earth just exists? No, it needs to be created by 4 little kids that get trapped
Well,
and
they
thrown
didn't
here
create
by
the island. Ozpin gave them the island as
And
the
then they
base,
started
and they
funking it
built
up.
on it, right? And then,
But this is technically how religions are made.
yeah, I guess. And so, yeah, I think that this is actually a very plausible, very understandable idea that
Sure.
Ozpin threw them into one of these other pocket dimensions, just like the relics, and they were like, well, we're not gonna wait around, okay? They decided to create and they decided to do stuff. And like whether the denizens of Wonderland were there before or after, like that's up to interpretation, but now they are very changed. And
Yes.
the resolution to that story, that's kind of an I don't know, because that would be a lot of powerful characters to just bring back
Yeah.
with you, obviously. But I do think that there will be kind of a vibe that maybe for some of them it is too far gone, right? Like maybe some of the girls, right? And so I think that that could definitely be a factor. I don't think that we're gonna bring all 4 of the grown-ass daughters back home
Maybe
with
some
us,
of them
right?
died.
Maybe some of them
They
have
stay
already
there.
died, right? Maybe
So, like,
some
tell
of them,
my dad he's an asshole and I
Yeah.
don't like him anymore.
you know, like stuff like that, right?
I expect some good Yang lines of like, wow, Ozpin just isn't honest with us, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, but he was honest with someone. That's why there's a loophole, right? And so I think that this makes a lot of sense. It makes a little too much sense when you think about it.
I've been suspicious of your points in the past, and now part of me's like, I'm afraid to deny you, even though,
Yeah. I mean, it also depends, like, what magic can do, right? Because when we see Salem swirling it, it's not definitive. Like, she doesn't grow flowers out of her hands or whatever, but I don't know. And when you look at it, when you look at the picture, does it not kind of give? There's a winter area,
Yeah,
there's
like
a
a bunch
spring
of
area,
kids would
there's a
make this
summer
world.
area, right? Like,
Yeah.
not even that, but like, there's kind of designated areas that look like the story of the seasons, which the girls are also of. You
Yeah,
know? So
I
I
got
don't know, man. I'm just saying it looks pretty. I'm pretty convinced by myself right now. I do say so myself.
Because on one hand, I know you can be right about these things. On the other hand, I understand that you are right because you do theory carpet bombing.
I know.
So this could
but
be
this
part
is
of the
like,
theory
this
carpet
is just,
bombing.
it came into my head and
I
I
don't
think
know.
it was worth it.
Maybe.
I think it was
Not
worthy
impossible.
of it, right?
I think it would be a little busy, but it's not impossible.
I mean, we already have a bunch of characters,
could be cool.
right? Like we've seen the Queen, we've seen the King,
Yeah.
and we've seen the Jabberwocky. Those are all the ones with thumbs. Like those are all the ones that are standing, right?
But I
so like
also-
it wouldn't be that busy because they would just double as the characters,
I also think
right?
that the characters would be interesting because they could potentially be like abandoned.
Yeah.
And maybe they never quite grow up, so they're still petulant.
Yeah, like kind of
children,
Peter Pan-ish,
like powerful
right?
kids.
I mean, that's why you have kind of the Mad
Yeah.
Hatter, right? Like the Mad Hatter and Peter Pan are a Venn diagram in terms of like personality, right? Especially, you know, more so the Disney versions I'm more familiar with, right? But like, yeah, it's kind of a Neverland where the kids never really
Yeah.
grew up. They had no
But you
adult
also see like
authority, right?
what happens when you never grow up and you never become adult and you never understand compromise or like lose that empathy deficit.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of shows.
It could
kind
make
of
them
shows that
really
all
frightening.
humans having magic would have been a mistake. Like, would have been
Yeah.
a bad idea, right? Because especially if you do have that Queen of Hearts character who is very controlling and crazy, and
Yes.
there's just magic everywhere. Like, there's just, I don't know, like. I feel like that would be a very good case for why everyone having magic,
I'll
uncontrolled,
put
is
it
not a
this
good
way.
idea, right?
Children, My Chemical Romance once famously said, teenagers scare the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
Children are horrifying.
Yeah.
In a kind of and sometimes a kind of Lovecraftian beyond the pales of reality and human comprehension way.
Yeah.
So a bunch of adult, powerful children is a great, great ideas for villains, at the very least.
And the Queen of Hearts does look older by now, but it's that idea that, like, they never grew up, right?
But
like,
also, like, this would have been hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and we've had the suggestion that maybe time works differently.
Yeah.
So, like, Alice would still be very young, even though she's been here for years.
Like, maybe they're young adults now. They're around Ruby's age or just a little bit older. Maybe Winter's
Or maybe
age.
in their 30s.
Because the Queen of Hearts does look like, the person we think is the Queen of Hearts, whatever, does look like Winter's age.
But, like, they grew 18 years in like, thousands.
Yeah.
Right? Or however many centuries
so they're basically, they've lived their own curse, kind of like Salem, and I feel like that'd be a very interesting thing for Ozpin, too, because Ozpin wanted to protect them, but also curse them to Salem's exact fate almost. Like this immortality with no one but each other, right? That's a little better. Just to walk the earth and do what? Like, it's not gonna be a surprise if they went a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
Also, though, like, okay, this is just headcanon and kind of stupid, but like, I feel like that Neo would get along with all of his children in that case.
That makes sense.
You know, and that would
She has a pretty major empathy deficit.
Yeah.
Some serious mommy and daddy issues.
Yeah, so I'm just, throwing that out there.
Is very good at violence.
If there is a case where some of the daughters do not want to go back, I think Neo and these kids will be gal pal,
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Right?
I could totally
like
see
Neo and
that.
the Mad Hatter, kind of as a replacement Roman, if you want to call it that, right? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying that's something to think about. But yeah, okay, guys. So I think that's all from us. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'm so smart. Can someone just hire me already?
Would you be okay
Can someone
with
just
that?
give me a fucking job, man?
Would you be okay with that eventuality for Neo, though?
The Mad Hatter,
Mad Hatter.
I think so. I like the idea that Neo becomes friends with the Mad Hatter, and like this is kind of her world. This is her ideal place to be, you know, because
I dig it.
I mean, I think it's like I do like the character arc where Neo does have to get through her grief and learn to change and like accept reality and stuff. But we also have to acknowledge that
She just
sometimes
gets to be
people
psychotic
don't
someplace.
accept reality.
Sometimes
and
people
do we
don't
like
get
that,
better.
right?
Sometimes
people don't get better.
it gets worse.
Yeah, so like as much as it would fulfill me more if Neo got better, it would also be unexpected if Neo got worse. Just stayed here. Right?
Yeah.
Or even imagine